Hello, Chill Computer Guy. Today we're in Premiere Pro. We are going to take a look at a couple of things. First off, we're going to take a look at transitions. Video transitions are kind of a hit or miss. It's where bad taste gets a lot of rain. You have a lot of really bad video transitions, but then you have a lot of really good subtle ones. So it's all about timing with video transitions. What I actually recommend is setting this up like you would in an analog sense, old school. What I have here is I have 3 clips. I have some clips shot. I think these were shot with an iPhone or something, you know. But what I've done is I've letterboxed them, and I've done some of the Lumetri color. And we're going to have tutorials on Lumetri color coming up, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. But what I want to talk about first is the timeline. You know, what I actually prefer to do is using these little handles here, you can expand the timeline. I like to look at this like it's an actual strip of film. I want to see what's going on as I'm looking in here. And as far as doing a lot of my fades and whatnot, I actually like, you know, alt clicking on here, or control clicking rather, and setting keyframes. Like for example, I've just created a fade, but I didn't go into the effects controls and do it that way. I just did it right here on the timeline. So now you see we got a nice little fade there. That fades down nice and slow. But to be able to just do it right there on the timeline is nice. And when you increase your timeline view so you can actually see the keyframe up here, you can click this icon and, you know, basically have anything representative of that keyframe line. We talked about that on the last tutorial a bit, but what we want to talk about this time is creating a video transition between these 3 clips. You can see they play. Now here's the thing, I'm not a huge fan of this duck shot. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I like this and I like this. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of this duck shot. It's not what I want right now. It just doesn't fit the vibe right now. Both of these clips are slowed down. Now to do this it's a shortcut worth learning. It's Control R. Control R is gonna bring up your clip speed, duration, dialogue. This is a really handy shortcut to learn because this is something that I find myself using all the time. Now, if you want to shoot at 60 frames a second, or if you're just doing vlogging, you want to shoot at 24. But as far as motion goes, if you have the ability to shoot at 60 frames or even 120 frames a second, you should if you're talking about motion, because when you start to apply a speed ramp or any kind of a adjustment to the speed or any kind of time remapping, you're going to get a lot more smoothness because there's just more frames to work with. So we went ahead and took both these clips down to 50%. So Control R, 50%. Now if you have them spaced out, you want to be sure and ripple delete. And what that's going to do, you know, for example, I'll show you this real quick. Let's say you take this back up to 100%, its regular speed. If you go ahead and click, you're going to leave this big gap here. But let's Control Z that. Let's do that same thing. But instead, we're going to click on Ripple, Edit, Shifting, Tail, Keyframes. Leave it on Frame Sampling. You can go Frame Blending, Optical Flow. These are actually new options, and they're pretty intense. But I'm going to use it on the old default, which is Frame Sampling. Hit OK, and you can see what it did is it caused a ripple delete, what's called a ripple delete. So now you don't have to go back and actually physically move that clip. And so that's a handy thing. Now, as far as this audio, you can see we have an audio track down here that is continuous through both clips. And what that's going to do is it helps tether the vibe together of these 2 clips. And as far as this is from, I believe it's Tortured Planet CT from a drone. My favorite place to actually find sound is Splice.com. Let's go ahead and take a look at Splice.com right here. This is Splice.com, and this is basically designed for, you know, producers, music producers, EDM producers is actually what it's designed for. But there's excellent Foley. If you're looking for Foley, you get in the Foley categories and you can find Foley for just about anything. Not only that, but you can find some really great atmospheric type vibes as well as some piano stuff if you want to lay that under your clips. None of this stuff's copyrighted, so you can use it. Now, Splice is subscription-based, but I recommend getting the $7.99 is the cheapest subscription you can get, but actually that's really worth it because there are millions and millions of audio files on here, and what I use is the $7.99 you get 100 samples a month, okay? But the thing is I don't need 100 samples right this second. What I think of this is it gives me a gateway to all of these sounds. So if I need something for a film or something for, maybe I'm working on music, I can use splice.com and just basically pull down what I need, as opposed to, I don't want to be a hoarder as far as samples go, is what I'm saying. And I definitely don't use more than 100 samples a month. Maybe if I had more time to work on music and films, maybe I would use more than 100 samples a month. But for me, this works perfect because this is kind of like streaming samples on the go. It's everything that's on Splice on demand. So I go to Splice specifically to look for something very specific, and I don't look for more than 100 of those specific things a month. Therefore, I'm at $7.99, which is the cheapest possible plan you can get. You can get 1,000 samples a month and it's like $25 or something. But I don't, like I say, if you're a sample hoarder, that might work for you, because I can honestly say I used to be a bit of a sample hoarder, but this whole idea of just having Splice as a streaming service, think of it as streaming. Any samples right there, millions of samples at your fingertips, and you basically download them as you need them. This is a perfect example of that. This is Foley Volume 1 right here, and check out the quality of these samples. I rest my case. And so the thing is, think of splice.com as a way to get on-demand samples. Now, something about the splice.com UI is what will happen is when you sign up, you'll download the Splice UI, and what it does is it docks right down here in your taskbar under your arrow. You click the little up arrow in your taskbar, and there it is. It's a Splice icon. If you double-click that, it's going to open up the UI, and I can drag that over. So now I can actually close the website right here. I've closed the website, and everything I download will automatically show up in this UI. Now, what's powerful about this is because it's subscription-based, once you use a credit, it's there for life. You have these samples for life. And if you move them on your computer, all you got to do is download them again. So basically it stores, as part of your subscription, it stores every single sample you download as a link, and then you can just download this at any time. But what's nice about this is going to set up by default a folder on your C drive. But if you go to this little gear icon, click on that, you can actually create a new folder. Okay, so that way if you want Splice, like for me, I have my solid state drive on my C drive. That's where all my program files are. I like to put all of my data, all of my assets, if you will, on a separate hard drive. I'm going to leave a link down below. Right now, you can get a 500 gigabit solid state drive for probably $100 right now, 150 for the Samsung. You should consider solid state drives on pretty much everything on your computer, except maybe your archives. Like I have a couple of 2 terabyte archive drives, which are the old spinning drives, but these are archive files. What you do is you do a RAID 1 and you get 2 terabyte RAID 1, and that's your archive. And then you just, it may collect dust over the years, but it's an archive. If you need those files, they're still there. But as far as all your new files that you're currently working on, consider a solid state drive because they're coming down in price. And when you do find one, this happens to be my X drive, which is where I put all my sample libraries at. But you can actually create, you know, set new folder. It's going to open up your Finder, and then you can actually set that folder. So as soon as you get a Splice account, set up your folder right away, and then just never move your folder. And then that way you can actually create a shortcut to Bitwig Studio or Propeller Head or wherever you know, whatever DAW you use. Or in this case, what I actually do is I create a folder in Bitwig Studio, and something that's very unique about Bitwig Studio is you can drag samples from the browser right into Premiere Pro, which is, like, that blew my mind, but that's a very powerful thing. I created a folder called Splice Spot. One quick thing to splice.com, if you do see this video, you know what I'd like to do is I'd like to see a darker interface here. Maybe under these options here, maybe one of them could be the option to make this a darker interface, because this is burning my eyes out. Not that this is open all the time. So what's great about this UI is it has everything. You know, you can, all this stuff, every sample you've downloaded ever in your life will be under this. It will be categorized. Now, quick little side note about the Splice interface. What I would really like is if this had a darker interface, something, you know, along the lines of Premiere Pro or Bitwig Studio, a darker interface, because a lot of times I'll be digging through these samples and it's burning out my eyes, you know. Something that's very powerful about this UI, set a folder and never move your folder, even if the files aren't there. If you go down to all downloads, you can actually set your metadata right here, okay? If you want a certain BPM range, you hit update, and it's only going to show samples between 120. If you're looking for loops, there's all your loops. Your one-shots are right there. So the fact that you can control every single sample you've ever downloaded from splice.com, not the actual file, but the link to that sample, and then have your metadata to the right to find the specific thing you're looking for. And then if maybe you've lost that sample, you can download it right to your Splice folder that you set up on your archive or whatever drive you're looking at. So the integration of splice.com into your actual, you know, workflow or into your actual, you know, ecosystem of files is very, very well done. But something I do want to point out is I would like a darker interface here. You know, maybe I could click on this gear and go to a darker interface. That'd be great. All right, enough about splice.com. Be sure to set that up. But something that's amazing is we're going to go ahead and go to Bitwig Studio here. And just to prove that I have not lost my mind, this is Bitwig Studio right here. I'm in the browser of Bitwig Studio. I'm dragging a file, look at that, right into Premiere Pro. That is amazing right there. Let's go ahead and close Bitwig. So if you haven't figured out yet that Premiere Pro, Bitwig Studio, when you combine those two softwares, the sky is really the limit. But we wanted to talk about video transitions. So what we want to do is we want to look at this. Oh, look, you know, I want to look at this. I want to look at it, you know. I want to look at it in loop. The quickest way to loop this is to select it, go up here, right click, okay? You want to right click and you go mark selected. Okay, now what that's going to do is it's going to mark the selection, but if you go over here, click this blue icon right here, okay? And if you can't see that, you want to hit the plus. You want to drag that from here because that's a very useful icon. And I'll show you the top icons to have here. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan of Premiere Pro, if you're like, I love video editing, you got to check out this channel because we're going to really be digging into Premiere Pro. We've been talking about Bitwig Studio in the past, but we're going to get into Premiere Pro because I've been getting into Premiere Pro. I've been kind of putting music production on hold to get more into video editing. And if you're into video editing, this is your channel. So be sure to subscribe. All right, so now that we've clicked that little blue icon, so now when we come to the end, going to loop, okay? Now you can also go up here and drag these. So let's drag these a little bit closer to that loop marker, okay? Because we don't want to see the beginning and the end. We want to focus on the actual split there. So let's hit play. Okay, so let's talk about scrolling. The timeline scrolling is set a certain way, okay? Let's go ahead and play this and you'll see what's going on with the timeline. Okay, now let's go to preferences because this is a big thing. In Premiere Pro CC 2018, they've actually added a timeline panel to preferences. This is great because the timeline is probably the area where you're going to spend the most time, so it should have its own dedicated panel here in the preferences. Let's go ahead and talk about scrolling. Okay, we have smooth scroll. Okay, let's switch this to page scroll. Now let's do that same thing. To me, that's causing a little less Tourette's. It's just a little less Tourette. It's a little bit more easy to deal with. So that's what I prefer. As far as these preferences up here, we're going to actually do a whole tutorial on these timeline preferences because I think they're pretty important. Go down the third one down. You want to uncheck this. Just do that. Like I say, we're going to have a tutorial on preferences, but just uncheck this right now. Just uncheck it right now, because if you've ever like banged on the table, it's because this third box is checked. So uncheck that. We'll talk about that box later. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna try out some transitions. Okay, now transitions are a make and break thing. A transition is something that if it's not tasteful, it'll wreck your vibe. It can wreck your vibe very, very quick. Now, traditionally, what you can do is you can just hold down on Control and put some keyframes in here, okay? And this is a traditional kind of fade right here. And you can see we created a V. And now if we play through this, you can see that we've created some keyframes, Control Z to get rid of all those. And that's just manually doing it. Like I say, I prefer to do it right there on the timeline and staying out of the effect control panel because it just wastes a lot of time. And like I was saying earlier, you can actually change what is projected by that. Okay, so we're going to start out, like I say, traditions they're hit or miss. There's only a couple I've ever used in my life. Normally, I'm going to manually do all my transitions, but the video transition setups, especially like crossfades, very, very handy, very, very quick, very powerful to use. We're going to start out with my favorite and probably the only one I ever use, which is cross dissolve. Okay, but before we add the cross dissolve, we're going to talk about some of the finer subtleties in Premiere Pro. I might have to zoom in on this section, but you see that little tiny triangle right there? That means that that's the actual end of that clip. There is no video data beyond there. Now, if I move this over, you can see that disappears, okay? That's because there's more video here, okay? But it's like a slip edit, basically. And so, if I were to move these to the left, there's no way I can pull this out because it's at the very beginning of the clip. And now the subtlety is that little tiny triangle there. That tells you that there's no more video beyond that. That's the actual hard end of the clip, if you will. If that exists, your cross dissolve is not going to work because if you drag it down here, it's only going to cross dissolve into that. Okay, in other words, you can't cross dissolve into stuff that doesn't exist. Normally with a cross dissolve, it's going to be fading from this line to the left, which from this line to the left doesn't exist, okay? So that's why you can't do that. So if you find that you're putting your cross dissolve over here and it's not letting you put it right in between, that's why. You have a hard end there, okay? So if I push this back and then do a quick ripple delete, Now it should let me put that on there. See, now I can put it right in between there. Okay, there it is. Let's go ahead and play this, and we'll look at this cross dissolve here. Now, something that's great about these transitions is you can just go and adjust them right on the timeline. You don't have to go up. You know, you can go up to the Effects Adjust panel if you want. Why do that? Okay, so we're going to shorten that real quick. And you can, you know, center that or do whatever you need to do. And what's nice, if you need a real specific duration, you can actually right-click and set duration. So if you wanted exactly 10 frames or exactly, you know, like some crazy amount, let's say you wanted exactly 1 second. You put this to 24 frames. I think we're at 24 frames a second. That's going to stretch it out. Now it should be exactly 1 second long. 1/1000. 1/1000. You know. You know, and so it's all about timing. You know, video transitions, if they're timed right, they can really, really make transition pop. And again, you can't really drag this out because of the issue with the clip. Let's go ahead and Control-Z this a couple times, put it back where we were. If we were to push this clip way over there, then we could do a massive, long cross dissolve. You know, we could put that cross dissolve, and we can pull it. It's going to stop when the hard end of this clip. So in other words, we can't go past that because the hard end of the clip is over here on the left somewhere. So this is a very, very slow cross dissolve. You can see that it goes beyond our loop markers. So what you want to do is you want to grab your loop markers and spread them beyond your transition. Now just hit play, and because you have your loop clicked, it'll automatically loop. I actually kind of like that really slow transition. Now, if you want to avoid the loop, just go ahead and turn this thing off, and then it'll play like normal. Go to the beginning. Let's take a look here. See, now I actually kind of like that really long transition. Pretty cool. Actually, I think I like that. Now, if you find that you like something, you just want to, it's like, geez, you know, I don't want to delete that and try something else. What you can do is it's basically like a clip launcher. You can select everything, hold down on Alt, remember Alt, and just drag that over, and now you got the exact same thing. You can move your, if you go right in between, right down in between your loop marker, you should get the hand tool, which you can drag your actual whole loop marker. So now you can drag that over here and just turn your loop marker back up. Go ahead and delete that. And now we've kind of set up shop on the other clip. So now let's try a Morph Cut. What the hell's that? Let's just try that real quick. Again, use your handles to zoom in on that. Let's take a look at the Morph Cut. Ooh, analyzing background. Okay, now you're going to see some of these transitions, a lot of them actually, are going to turn your this red. If this is red, it's not going to play smoothly, okay? That means it's got to, if you render this out by hitting Enter, it'll turn this green. Let's go ahead and, I don't want to use this clip, so I'm not going to waste the time. But something like another one that I find myself using is the iris, okay? The iris, you can do a box across, a diamond around. The iris round is something I find myself using quite a bit. Let's put that right in between. You can see again that's going to turn red. That's because the effect, unfortunately, you see, I don't understand why some of these effects don't utilize the Mercury playback engine. That's kind of crazy to me. Let's go ahead and play this with the radius and see what we got here. I don't know how I feel about that. Let's drag this out so it's crazy long. Now we'll get a sense of what's going on. Now, if you want that to play smoothly, you need to hit enter. What that's going to do is it's going to render. It's going to tell you exactly there's 338 frames there. I got the little graphic card. You know, it's fairly fast, but you'll see that what'll happen is this red line will turn green or yellow. It'll probably turn green. Yeah, it'll actually turn green. Green is going to mean that you're rendered out. Yellow should play fluently if you got a decent card. I have an old card in here. I have the 760, the NVIDIA 760. No, I have the 770 actually. Anyway, if you're subscribed to my channel, you can go to my videos. In one of them, I describe this machine being built and the video card I use. And so I definitely don't have a card here. Maybe someday I'll get one. But for now, you know, I just render stuff out and I'll see it full speed. It takes a little time, but it's definitely worth it. It makes you very much more decisive about putting on effect. Make sure you want to see it in full motion, you know. So that took me all the way to the beginning of the timeline, which is not what I wanted. But we'll take a look at another Aurora March here. We'll play through some of this. So that actually rendered out everything, but what I was going to look at was this piece over here. No, not even this. Where was it? Oh, yeah. Where are we, damn it? Oh, we're right here. Okay, this is what we wanted to look at. Look, it didn't even render what I wanted it to. That's... Anyway, that's about enough of that. Okay, so that's transition. Something to note is, I'm going to go ahead and delete this right here, is these transitions... Let's say you got a lot of them, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just create a bunch of these things real quick. Control, yeah, we'll just hold down on Alt, drag them over. Another option is to just hit Control C, Control V, which is the same with the transitions. Control V. So let's say we love this. Let's say we love this this fade. We love this transition. This transition is the bomb. It's the bomb. It's the best transition we've ever done in our life. To put it all the way across here, it's very, very simple. You want to click on it, hit Control C, and then hit the down arrow, and that'll take you to the next edit point, and then hit Control V. Okay? Down arrow, Control V, down arrow, Control V, down arrow, Control V. It's all about the workflow, right? Control V. This is kind of like actions. Maybe Premiere Pro should get actions. There you go. And then it put them quickly between all 3 or all 20 whatever clips. So of course that's a little obnoxious because they're all the same film. But hypothetically, if you had tons and tons of clips and you engineered the perfect transition, the perfect speed, the perfect transition. That's how to do it. You hit Control C to copy it, and then the up and down arrow are going to take you to the next edit point. Very, very powerful. And then just hit Control V to paste that transition in there. Very nice, very easy to done. Anyway, that's about enough for today. Chill Computer Guy, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment below. If you know anybody that uses Premiere Pro, please steer them in the direction of my channel. Now, these little videos or tutorials or whatever you want to call them, remember, they're not for beginners. They're not for experts. They're for everybody. My main goal here is to inspire you to, in this case, get some video editing done, or go into those old timelines and finish them off, because I know how that is. You know, every 3 months I create a new timeline, and boy, they end up a mess because a lot of times I don't get back in there and finish them. So All those shortcuts are going to help you out along the way. We're going to have many more tutorials on Premiere Pro, and we're also going to talk about Photoshop a little bit. I'm going to have a tutorial coming up on that. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up, comment below, and let me know what you'd like to see. And we're going to get back to some Bitwig tutorials as well. So we're going to here's what we're going to do. We're going to put reason on the sideline. Propeller head reason, we're going to put that on the sideline, okay? We're going to mainly be doing Bitwig Studio tutorials, Premiere Pro tutorials. Did I mention that you can drag from the Bitwig browser right into Premiere Pro? That's amazing. Those two pieces of software are amazing together. They really integrate well together. And then we're going to be doing some Photoshop tutorials, some basic Photoshop tutorials, talking about the top 3, top 5 tools, the best way to make a selection and whatnot. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're into software, that's what we're going to do. Chill Computer Guy. We'll catch you guys again. Subscribe, bang on that like button. Be sure to bang the hell out of that like button there. You got to bang it, bang it twice. Tell a friend to bang it or something, because the more likes you get, I think it ranks your video higher. And, if I start actually generating revenue from this, I will make more videos and more complex videos because I'll have more time away from the grind that is the salt mine that we all know about. But hey, all right, enough about all that. Subscribe to Grouthead as well. Type in Grouthead to YouTube. You'll find the channel. That's where some of my more mysterious content lives. We'll check you guys again. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, and we'll see you again in the next couple of days. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you later. Bye-bye now.